So what's new with AI, Josh?
Yeah, 2024 is probably not going to make or break your business, but the longer it continues to happen, the more vital it's going to be. But there's always that initial hump of like, how the heck do I even start using this, right? And I know the biggest thing of one of the gentlemen that I am a huge fan of, Dan Martell, not only because he's a wildly successful entrepreneur, but I love him especially because he's Canadian. But the one thing that he always talks about is when you're looking to, and I'm paraphrasing here, but when you're looking to build something for your team, or maybe if you're frustrated if your team is not doing something up to the expectations you wanted, the only thing that you can do as a leader is check your calendar. And what he means by that is if you are not putting time intentionally to teach your team how to do it, how can you expect them to know? But I actually wanted to bring some examples today around how we can start thinking about teaching our team how to use AI better. Some people find it more overwhelming than others.
One thing I've been talking to our customers a lot about is when you're thinking about prompting and getting what you need out of AI, think of it as the most literal human on the planet. Like whatever you say, it will take the exact meaning of that for better or for worse. And oftentimes when you're first using it, it's for the worse until you get used to it, and it will output that. So it's really about practicing your literal communication to get the best results. So
AI is kind of like a Belgian Malinois, right? Like those super just focused dogs, incredibly obedient, will do exactly what you say, how you say it. So to your point, if we're not getting the outputs that we're looking for with AI, how can we actually address a lot of the prompts we're using? So I found a really cool article actually here. And so some really interesting things that they were really talking about was a couple different drills or exercises that we can do to actually go through this with our teams. So the first one was actually prompting practices with AI. So in this example here, they're saying, ask AI to generate 3 ideas of a project that you're actively working on. So maybe that's even something like, ask AI to help create a job posting or a submittal or a write-up or a framework of questions that we should be asking for a role that we're trying to fill. And then what we can do as a team is once we have some of those answers, because it'll take 2 minutes to think of something and then put it in, we can actually start to evaluate those responses. Going back to your point, is the first time you're going to do it, it's not going to give you the answer you want. And that's okay, right? It's all about how do we take one step in the direction so we can actually start to understand how do we communicate using AI differently. So find one that you don't like, and how can we change it and tweak that prompt so we can actually get something more to what you do like? Because I think the one thing that I hear a lot of is that people are like, AI is too high level. It's too general for what I want. AI is not going to be a thing making the decision for you. It's just going to help either give you the how to order of operations that you should be thinking about or the exact thing that you asked for.
One thing I've actually started doing this week, I was going down the rabbit hole with some prompting and it wasn't getting to where I was. So rather than blaming the AI, I was okay, I got to blame myself. Am I not communicating effectively? So I started just looking up definitions of the words I was using online, and it helped me so much. So when I was asking it to like, hey, summarize, it's like give a brief statement on the main points of something. Well, we're inherently saying to exclude information. So if we want it to summarize, then we're asking the AI to exclude information for us, right? Whereas if we're asking to do something like paraphrase, express the meaning of the writer, speaker, or something written or spoken, using different words, especially to achieve greater clarity. But you might want it to restructure, not paraphrase. So you have to be really conscious around like what's the actual meaning of the words that you're using, more than if you're talking with a human, because a human will interpret like, oh yeah, I know what they mean. And a lot of times we're just not conscious around like what sometimes words actually mean, which is sad, but it's the truth. We're falling victim to it, just like everybody's falling victim to it. So I think just that quick exercise, if you notice that you're not able to get the result that you thought you'd be able to with a specific prompt, go in and ask for the specific definitions of those words and then iterate based on that. Well, it's like, would you talk to your friend at work the same way that you talk to your 3-year-old niece? You talk to different people in your life differently based on who they are to you. AI is the exact same thing. We need to learn how to talk to AI. Like that's kind of the thought process that I use and try to communicate to our customers who are often like have the right intent. They know exactly what they want it to look like, but how do we communicate that effectively?
Yeah. Yeah, but just to give those quick 3 drills that we can actually do, and maybe in our next team meeting with the people we're working with. But that first one as a potential team exercise here. Maybe that's actually using AI to help generate 3 ideas of a project that you're actively working on that you want to change. So maybe from a recruiting standpoint, that's doing something like using AI to help with job descriptions or write-ups, or maybe that's just interview questions based on a role that you're looking to fill for. How do we tweak the prompts, especially when it's not giving us the answer we want, because it is taking it literally? Take one of the ones that you didn't like across the team and actually figure out how can you prompt this differently to manipulate it so it can actually give the answer you would like. Tell GPT to do more with the response that you like. So in this example, it's saying, I like the idea of a giveaway. Here are some other things that we can actually try. And then use some of those, maybe in an actual applicable role. A different idea though, on a challenge that you could do, or a drill or a simulation here, is actually using AI to help problem solve a issue or a problem that you're having inside of the business too. So maybe it's a solution around a certain candidate you're looking to fill or whatever that might be, but maybe you're using it from a troubleshooting manner as well. Just trying to find different ways to think outside the box, and maybe even asking AI if there's any potential consequences for the course of action. That was really tough to say, course of action that it was suggesting for us to take. And the last one that it even recommended here, which I thought was interesting, seeing if there might be a new workflow that we can use from a manual step that we're doing today inside of a way that we can actually automate it. So again, just 3 really quick examples of different ways that we can actually practice with the team using AI, and really just practicing. How are we communicating with it? Because it's so literal in terms of how it will interpret what we're asking.
I see a lot of folks almost formatting questions as almost a multiple choice. So if you think of like if you're doing a quiz or something like that, and you have a multiple choice question that's saying like, I don't know, is this coffee cup black, white, gray, blue, green, right? Like that's formatted as a multiple choice question. What do you do when you're taking a quiz and you don't know the answer for certain? And it's
Guess C. You guess C.
You guess C. You guess something. So I see a lot of folks formatting questions in the form of a multiple choice like question, and then wondering why, hey, why did ChatGPT say it was blue when they didn't say anything about blue? Because it guessed, because how you formulated the question. Again, being more literal, more mindful around what is it going to try to predict? Because if it's been trained off of a big corpus of data, maybe a lot of that corpus of data is multiple choice questions.
One of the things that I hear a lot of people, especially in the development space, talk about is that AI is a phenomenal hallucinator, right? And I think it goes back to exactly what you're saying. If it can't find the answer, it'll find an answer for you unless you specifically instruct it not to. Yeah. It's also really good. I was talking to another individual earlier this week who was using AI for their write-ups and submittals. And they were like, Josh, I had an interview with a candidate. No bueno, not a good candidate, but the write-up came through very positive. Like, why was that? And I was like, well, everything that we wrote in part of that submittal had a positive tone to it. And so AI, again, it's not going to be able to understand the context, the situation, or if somebody was good or bad. It doesn't know. It's just going to take the literal things you were asking for and the tone that you were asking for it in and give you that exact same result. Yeah. And so those little nuances that we think about as humans, where it's like, hey, well, obviously just using our intuition, we know that that wasn't a great candidate because of these reasons. AI has no context. It's just that literal Belgian Malinois doing exactly what you're asking it to do. It can't, and it shouldn't be used to help decipher if something is good or bad. It just gives you the outputs based on the inputs that you gave.
Now, we gave you a few examples around how to get better outcomes that we've seen practically either with our customers or through our use of it, but you're going to stumble upon those really good outcomes as well. So I know what we do internally for our customers and ourselves is we make a library of all the successful prompts so that we're not having to reinvent the wheel. Think about if you have a recruiting firm that's 50 employees, there's 50 recruiters on your team. We have Sally over here that just spent 3 hours iterating on a prompt, made a perfect one, but then Jennifer has no idea about it. And now she's spending that same 3 hours or maybe even more trying to figure out how to make that same prompt. And once you figured it out, make sure you document it and share it with the team.
And then to your exact point, all those references, if you're looking for a certain topic, here's a prompt that we find gives you a great result. And even down to the fact with write-ups as well, and just different ways that this can actually be used based on different situations too. So to your point, I think documenting is actually one of the most underutilized skills that I've actually seen throughout my entire leadership career. One of the things that I've always been a huge fan of is creating like an onboarding deck or a boot camp deck, not just for new hires, but this is a resource that people can refer back to instead of always asking me what the answer is. I can just send them the link to the deck, and there's video walkthroughs with examples and templates that they can use to help our teams learn how to learn.
I think a lot of people don't do it. They don't make like the AI playbook for X recruiting firm or executive search firm or staffing firm because they're like, I don't have a week to make this.
Yeah.
All you have to do is when you find one thing, one prompt that you think is valuable, start it there.
Yeah.
And then next week, add another one when it comes up. And don't think you have to go from 0 to 10. Just go from 0 to 1 and keep adding from there. As always, I appreciate you having a quick coffee with me, and hopefully everybody got some good insights from this session around how to actually train your team and yourself how to use AI.
Love it. Talk soon.
Talk soon.